where is the fight going to take us? The fight between Dangote and the head of the Nigerian midstream downstream petroleum regulatory agency.
Yeah, good evening. Good evening. Thank you so much for having me on board. The challenge here is that this fight is not going to take us anywhere. That's the honest truth. It's going to take us anywhere. The downstream sector at this time needs a direct leadership, a proper leadership structure that can take us to the next phase. The issue of the rancor and the price war is a fallout of the fact that we have policy somersaults, inconsistent policies in our downstream sector. And I think the president needs to step in and be able to bring harmony and peace and order in the system. We have found out that over the years, this battle, this war doesn't take us anywhere. So that's the reason why we see as if we are not making progress. I have utmost respect for Dangote. I'm 100% in support of what Dangote is doing in the downstream sector. I am excited that finally Nigeria can boast of a refinery that can produce PMS, diesel, and all the other byproducts of crude oil. This shows that we have made progress from where we are to where we are heading to. Okay. But however, yes, everything has to follow through processes. There needs to be a process.
We had, of course, Gillis Harry a moment ago. He said what they want is competition. Is it really a competition when you talk about giving licenses to people to import billions of liters of petroleum products when you have an indigenous refinery? Is it a competition?
There's going to be competition. The honest truth here is, let me be factual. Most of the people, like the earlier speaker said, but I want to come from a different perspective. Most of the importers have what we call a contract. I'm in the oil and gas industry. There are contracts that run for 5 years. And these contracts are actually enforced with penalties attached to it. You can't tell someone who has a contract for 5 years or 6 years just because there's a refinery that is now in Nigeria. The guy who signed a contract with a refinery in Spain or in Portugal or signed a contract with the refinery outside, you want him to just go off the market and pay the penalties. That is not fair. That's why I said we need a structured leadership that has to work on this transition. There has to be a transition.
But then there is
nothing should be done in a hurry. Nothing should be done in a hurry.
Question mark on the regulator, Farouk Ahmed, who heads the midstream downstream petroleum regulatory agency. Are you saying that we should have an independent body, people who will now intercede between the importers, Dangote, and then Nigerians?
It's not really about having another body. It is actually about consistent policy. Our policy in the oil sector is not consistent. That's the reason why we are having a lot of challenges in the oil and gas sector. We have inconsistent policies, and these policies is affecting even the foreign investors coming in. So my own advice is everything has to follow a gradual transition. What we are having now is a transition. Dangote refinery is on board. Good, beautiful. We also have other private refineries that nobody is talking about. We have the Watersmith refinery. We have other small refineries running out. We have even modular refineries running. Nobody's talking about them. What is good for the goose is good for the gander. Can we also talk about the other refineries that are running? Is government actually supplying them good oil? Are they giving them the kind of concession and incentive that they are giving to Dangote? That is what we are saying. Now, if you are talking about the independent marketers, those who are bringing in products.
How many licenses were given to private investors, for decades, and they just kept them there for status symbol? Now here you have somebody who, put his money, put other people's money to come up with this edifice. Do you think the federal government and by extension, the Nigeria Midstream and Downstream Regulatory Agency have the moral ground to now say that Dangote is actually tilting towards monopolizing the sector?
Now, let me tell you about private businesses. Dangote is a private-owned entity. Dangote is not a Nigerian-owned government or Nigerian people-owned business. This is a business owned by a private individual that wants to make profits, that wants to satisfy their investors, and also ought to pay back shareholders. That is the three elements that drive Dangote. Now, the challenge now is that we are not even dealing with the real challenge. We are dealing with the surface problem. The problem is, why is our refineries not working? We have 4 refineries, and none of them is working. If these refineries were working, we wouldn't be here talking about Dangote. Nobody will be thinking about Dangote. We'll just see Dangote as actually one of the investors in the oil and gas. Now the challenge now is that Dangote is coming in on board in the time when the refineries are dead. Is singing a message of monopoly. Now there is no competitive element that makes the market competitive. Yes, now the only competition Dangote has now at the moment is actually
have his refinery when the government could not fix its refineries for decades. Is it his fault?
No, nobody is saying it's his fault. That's why we are saying the government needs to step in. We need these refineries working. That's the essence of the refinery to work. We need them to work. We have 4 refineries. The last time these new refineries worked so many years ago. We want the refineries to work. Right. That by so doing, we will have enough competition. It will be competitive for the market. And competition drives down price. That is what competition does. It drives down the price of goods and services.
Thank you very much, Emeka, oil consultant and public affairs analyst, for your take on this very important topic. We hope to have you some other time. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you so much. Thank you.